Move to authorize and direct the chairman to sign the real estate mortgage release acknowledging satisfaction in full debt secured by Harold Miller, physical address 2150 19th Road, Waverly, Kansas. Legal description there below.
I'll make the motion.
Tim's moved,
I'll second.
Jesse seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Upon request of Coffee County Housing Authority Board, move to authorize and direct the chairman to sign the real estate mortgage release acknowledging satisfaction in full debt secured by Galen and Mina Miller, physical address 921 1 Street, Burlington, Kansas. Again, another legal description there. That's my district. I'll move.
I'll second.
John seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Angie passed out a handout on the legal holidays for Coffee County employees during the calendar year 2021.
This is what we sort of discussed last week, and then there was discussion on Juneteenth. And because we're already into August, I figure we will just skip over Juneteenth, discussing it for this year. When we do this next year,
So when do we do next year?
we'll do it in November.
Okay.
So we'll prepare it and get it ready for next year, then we can discuss Juneteenth. But this is just making the Friday, New Year's Day. It's actually New Year's Eve on Friday, but because New Year's Day is on Saturday, the holiday, the full holiday will be recognized on Friday.
I see, yes. Okay. So we'll move to approve revised legal holidays for Coffee County employees during the calendar year 2021.
I'll second. I'll second.
Any discussion?
Which all it is changing from Monday to Friday.
Right.
Yes.
And we'll move our year end up to Thursday.
And I don't, like I said, there's an error on our part. I'm not sure how that got missed, but it's corrected.
So all work.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We're ready, whenever you are, Bob. Sorry, I seen you sign in and then I started reading it.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Good morning, Commission.
Good morning.
My topic of discussion is regarding the employee transfer by department level for the planning and zoning administrator to move from road and bridge to economic development. As discussed with our attorney, Mr. Wade, he suggested that it just be in the form of a motion made, and he would prepare the proper paperwork.
He's not with us at the moment. So we need this motion today or?
It's up to the commission.
Another week, Wade isn't gonna hurt anything.
Not heard anything.
Other than Wayne's got a motion to advertise for a full-time employee. So this may need to take precedent over the other. I don't know if that'd be an issue.
I'm thinking maybe we ought to put them both on. We might want time to think about that motion too.
Probably shouldn't do, I'm not sure what Wade would say. Probably should do this one without knowing what the other one is. Sure.
That sounds wise.
Because that will be coming up too, this morning, my wife gets there.
He had another resignation, if I remember correctly.
No, it's not for this.
No.
But I still,
Yeah, there may be something else.
if it's not a problem for a week, I would recommend we put it on
Yeah,
for a
it's
week.
not an issue. That way we get the verbiage correct and.
Right.
Yes, sir. And Wade did have me prepare the TLCs to reflect that change, so they're ready to go as well, whenever you do move on this.
Okay. All right. Since we've got a little time, I'm gonna have you come back in after 10. Do you have that paperwork with you?
Yes, sir.
We wanna go ahead and just discuss that. Is that topic was short?
It is short. If you'd like to discuss it.
That's fine by me.
Our county attorney, Mr. Wade Bowie, had me research and prepare a financial perspective. I prepared it in the form of an abstract where you would be able to look as a commission at the different financing options for a proposed correctional facility. As you know, many of the comments from various citizens have suggested that there are, or inquired as to how the project will be paid for.
Thank you.
So, and at review, you see laid out three different options. Option 1, option 2, and option 3. The county obviously has the funds to finance a great portion of the project in cash. But with that cash, there would be financing included. And in option 1, you see a private placement, local bank side, where the commissioners would put down an amount of money and finance the rest of it locally, split up among different banks, so that all local banks were able to participate. And I have been quoted an exact rate, or a close rate. And what you see as a rate, in option 1, it would likely be lower than that. But you won't know until you get down to actually being issued a letter of credit, which we can get at any point. Option 2, you see a general obligation bond, again with money down into the project. The way a bond works, all local governments, cities, school districts, they are allowed, because they're a governmental entity, to issue long-term debt at the public market. So a bond, the way it differs from conventional debt, is that you are able to extend the term quite significantly, but also you can secure that debt solely based on the revenues of the county, as opposed to a local project where a bank would finance a conventional financing. They would want to secure the debt by some collateral, mainly real estate. So with a bond issue, you would be able to reach out a lot further in terms. Rates are a little bit lower. And you would secure this. The collateral would be a general obligation from the county, payable from any and all revenues of the county. Option 3 at the bottom is a bond issue, a standalone bond issue that pays for everything. You're not putting any money into the deal. The rates are so low, an argument could be made that a hard look needs to be taken at not putting any money, any cash reserves into the project, just financing the entire thing. And you'll see that there's what's called call protection. Whenever a bond is issued, the bond buyer wants to guarantee their return. So they put what's called call protection, where you cannot pay it off within a certain period of time. It's normally on a 30-year deal, you're talking about 15 years.
Has to stay financed for 15 years minimum.
Yes, sir.
Basically, because of the low interest.
Correct. Correct.
That kind of sounds like what, Lynn County?
That's what Lynn County
Yeah,
said.
it kind of sounds like what
Except
they
David couldn't remember the payoff.
couldn't remember the
He
date.
couldn't remember, in fact, and I no criticism of David, there's 3 or 4 things, I didn't get a clean answer,
Right,
because
right.
he'd only been a commissioner in 5 years, or a clerk. But
How do you go about a bond
So a bond
for
is,
this 100%, I guess?
I didn't mean to interrupt
Yes.
you, but I wanted to, I talked with Dave, the Lynn County clerk, last week,
Oh, you did?
and I asked him for their plan of what they did, just to kind of go along with what Bobby was gonna be handing out, so you guys could take a look, just as a sample. And the things that they're having to pay for in addition to the
That's good, since you know.
project costs. Yeah, and Dave has been a clerk also for 17 years, just like I have, so.
Oh, thank you.
But they do did they do a tax hike to pay for their bond, or Bobby's just talking about?
They did a sales tax.
They did a 1% sales tax.
Bobby's saying we can do it, we're not even raising any taxes, you can still bond without.
correct. Now,
And that's the back, I mean, that's the main concern right here is, our taxes are gonna go up again. Well, I don't wanna see that, and I think we all agree, we don't wanna see taxes go up. So if we can bond 100% of this without raising any tax of any sort,
And not using anything that's set aside in the accounts.
correct.
I mean, to me, you're still essentially spending money you don't have.
Oh, yes, yes, it's still dead,
It's still debt.
But you're looking at what, 2.5% interest on it?
less than that.
You know, and I understand. My thought is, and I think, we've got reserve funds, to me, we need to use some of those funds. To what extent, I'm not gonna say. But to go out 15 or 20 years to 3.5%, when our reserve funds are earning 1/10 of 1%,
Yes,
I've
sir.
got a big problem with that.
Yes, sir.
We end up tying up a lot of money that we've got money on hand over a 5-year period. We pay it off completely
Well,
and not lose that interest.
yes, sir.
I don't know what 2.5% would be over, 15 or 20 years on 15 million, but 2%, that's $30,000 a year, 35,000, whatever it is, 15 years, that's quite a few dollars.
Yes, sir.
Because the funds in a savings, I'm not saying, so I got a little bit of an issue of dragging it out very far when we've got the funds available and paying 2.5 for 3%. The rate is very, very low, but it's still money that's wasted,
Yes, sir.
absolutely money. That's like the MT, we had before I came on board, the county said that was a 5-year note, 10-year note, I'm not sure. We were paying 6-7%. And I suggested, why pay that? Just pay it off a year early because we had the funds set in a reserve.
Yes, sir.
Somewhat the same thing.
There is one more aspect of this that, to ride along with what you're saying, if I were to prepare a deeper abstract, or a more technical look at it, when you're talking about this kind of project, this kind of money, there's gonna be a taxable piece and a tax exempt piece. So the tax exempt piece would be for any money spent regarding infrastructure, professional services, the parking lot, so that would be, in a project like this, about half the actual cost of the project. You're talking about millions of dollars worth of sales tax that could be avoided, sales use tax, by having a declarable tax exempt piece. That's one of the benefits of having a bond issue, is you avoid those sales taxes. So that when we get down to a deeper look, you'll see that you'll be able to weight the savings and sales tax on construction versus what you're talking about, the loss of possible revenue by not paying cash, not investing a strong amount of cash.
What kind of interest would we be getting off on $15 million a year? You know, I mean, I don't know where we pull this stuff out of the reserves. What kind of interest is that $15 million occurring? Is it gonna be enough to offset the 1.5% or close to? You see what I mean? Is it gonna be a wash?
Basic answer is no, but yes, you need to take a look at that. It's gonna be close.
I mean, why deplete your reserves when for the same amount of money you can bond it for,
If you can worship it, if you can worship.
or dang close.
Or somewhere close.
You know, you might be looking at just 1%.
Correct.
Can you justify depleting your reserves for 1% interest
Correct.
loss?
I've been here long enough to know that why we've made reserves the way we are. 3 years' time, we lost $44 million worth of revenue, and it can happen again. And if we hadn't have had our reserves, we would have been in trouble.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not against spending a little bit of it, maybe kind of like you say, maybe the non-revenue or part of whatever. But I am not in favor of just going out and spending our reserves just because we have it, and it might cost us 0.5%.
I believe the citizens would appreciate what you just said.
But we actually need to look at every possibility out there, no question. You said in 3 years, the county lost 44 million?
Yes, we did. We lost 14, and, no, we lost more than that.
Yeah, it
It
was.
was 88 million. 88 million we lost in 3 years. 1 year, we lost 44 in 1 year.
How does that happen?
Well, you're talking about,
State
okay, we're talking about values.
value.
We didn't lose tax dollars, you're talking about values. Yeah, we didn't lose tax
But
dollars.
when we lost that value, we had to make it up.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We
So we lost-
didn't have the money to make it up.
So you lost $2 million that 1 year, at
You're
50 mils, it'd be 2.2.
If the commission would so choose, we can invite a bond attorney and an investment banker to sit down with the commission in a closed session, executive session, to discuss the details of that deeper dive into the options that you have. Just simply put, Coffee County is in excellent shape. You can finance anything you want to finance, and you're going to get the best rates out there possible, whatever path you go. And yes, you have cash reserves sufficient to move mountains, but to take a deeper look, I would suggest that. And also, Mr. Tom, before I go, brought up the fact that you see at the bottom, there are sources of repayment options. Now, those are precise. We actually looked up the values, but it is not necessary to levy any kind of sales tax increase or ad valorem increase to finance this project. The county has the wherewithal to do this without raising any taxes to the citizens.
That's the avenue I wish to choose.
Me
I don't know
too.
what you all
Sounds
think.
best to me.
We
I wish to
absolutely
choose.
can't,
this.
we absolutely can't change, move them up. I'm not, on the last quarterly interest income report we have from Karen, I'm not sure what that last quarter report showed, and I don't, it's probably here in these papers. But it wasn't very many dollars because CD rates, funds at the bank had went down to 1/10 or 2/10, 1%. Where 2 years ago, she had that in some type of funding for a 12-month period, brought in over $1 million.
Yes, sir.
But that situation has drastically changed, and I think we need to evaluate and look at everything you're talking about. But timeframe's pretty short too, for what Angie may or may not need to do.
Well, I would say that if you're planning to go forward no matter what, we need to find out if the public, put it on the ballot and what they say, and the details can be worked out in the process of waiting, for the election and that.
But you can't put it on the ballot and ask if you don't have the proposed payment plan totally in place.
Well, true.
Totally in place. And we got a meeting Wednesday night at the city council, Brian. almost be nice to be able to answer some of the questions.
I think we have options that's better than we had before.
Correct.
I don't think.
But we can't promote them when we haven't got something down black and white yet.
The local banks are willing to issue a letter of credit on demand. You're, as far as being solid, you're solid. To be able to speak with authority, but yes, you can refine that, and we can get down to the black and white, precise numbers, whenever you're ready.
Well, I suggest we all kind of digest what we've been presented here this morning, and then, we can talk about it.
You gonna be available you gonna be available for maybe like some round table? Maybe we can discuss
Just come
some
back
more
after the 10
after
o'clock one,
more,
10:30 each or so.
do a little more public discussion.
Yes, sir.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne,
Good morning. I'll just get right into it. Road permits, none, no zoning, landfill totals in place, and I have one motion for a full-time office coordinator. I received the resignation. She'll basically be the first party next month. It's 3 weeks notice is what she has. So it's a better job for her. So about all I can say at this point. And that's the motions I have. Then I'll give you the construction zone and we'll go over any questions you may have. So one would be the motion to allow me to fill that position.
does anybody need?
I guess I would like to know, I don't know who it is, and I don't know if it makes any difference if it's just a resignation, if we put the name out, I don't think that's an issue.
Heather.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is top position.
Thank you.
So based upon the recommendation of county engineer, we to approve county engineer's request to advertise for and hire one full-time office coordinator. No new position is being added. This request will only fill vacant position.
I guess my question would be, is there potential you might move someone you have up and this person might come in, because I voted against this when we hired that person at the salary we brought him in. And I'm not in favor of bringing someone else in at that salary again because it was very high compared to what it was. So I guess I'm questioning, well, I guess we're not even discussing salary now, we're just discussing positions.
Well, I think we have to take our first step, and that would be one is advertise in-house and out, and see what interest is out there, because you just don't know. Nobody's approached me at this point for that discussion, so I really wouldn't be able to answer.
Okay.
So I read it, I just need somebody to move it.
Did you read the motion?
I did. Jesse moved
I'll second.
and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, on construction zone, really a few things to note. Some's on the construction zone and some's not. One, for the most part, Matthias Lake, the ditching, phase 1, has been completed. There's still there's some temporary pipes as far as some structures that are still needing to be placed. But overall, the plan to have the large ditch, the capacity to be able to handle the drainage is in place. Native Road right now, we plan as soon as we have trucks available to go ahead and add additional gravel onto it, because with all the work activity, it's pretty dusty right now. So we have a lot of fines on the road. So we do plan to add some gravel, but it might not be as quick as folks would like, but that's because we're using our trucks right now in our chip seal program. So moving on with the chip seal program, one, I reported basically an oil pump on our chipper, which was incorrect. I apologize. The oil pump that we have the problems with is on the distributor. And so on the distributor is the one that we're replacing the oil pump. At this point, the distributor is up in Topeka at Van Keppel's. They are looking for a pump, so we still don't have one. We reached out to the surrounding counties, and Anderson County has a distributor available. So Lester is coming over with his people to make sure it's running properly. And actually, we are borrowing an oil distributor from them. So we don't have anything in place as far as any type of rental agreement or anything at this time. We'll visit with them and see, and then I'll just pass on the information. But as we exchange, it's not necessarily uncommon, but I'd also say too, we don't have necessarily formal resolution agreements in place. They are basically being nice enough, gracious enough to help us. This is pretty late in the season for us for all the chip seals that we're doing. And actually with that being said, some of the chip seals are going to be reduced a little bit. Some of the chip seals on the hot mix asphalt roads, we may not even see this year. Some of the fog seals probably it's not going to get finished. What we're focusing on is chip seals on chip seal roads. Ones that we need to seal, we're trying to do those first. Then we're also working on our stroke seals, trying to get those finished as well. We will be limited due to the weather. That's the biggest factor at this point. But you're looking right now, August, first part of September, we're a little late. But we've had problems with our chipper. We've also here recently had problems with our distributor. And so it's been an uncommon year for us to be able to get started. That pretty much gets us up on the chipping. As far as the other activities, that's our main focus at this time. And then mowing, importantly. You saw some of the shoulder work, but basically everything's pretty dry. Asphalt, right now, we have Bettis. They've done the work over there on the Lake Road, and right now they're down in Gridley. And then after Gridley, they'll come up to Burlington and finish those areas. So.
They go ahead and patch that bridge area.
Yes. And actually, they went a little wider because they had an 8-foot mill versus a 4-foot. And so, but there was no change on that. But we do have a asphalt quantity change that I'll be bringing in next week or 2 weeks. So not much.
You've got the bridge crew across road on ditching on Zurich 8th and 9th. Is that project completed or are they just in the works?
At this point, they're in the works.
Just in the works?
Yes, sir. There is one other that I'll need some help with. We had a landowner down at First and Planter that had blown a tire on a trailer. And as I understood, the condition was basically the road was washed out and exposed rock was basically showing on the road. Normally, road conditions wouldn't warrant where we would pay for damage. It's just part of the road hazard. But we've had cases where folks would come in and petition for a tire to be replaced. And I would say that if that's pursued, I would ask that we would continue that. It'd be a case by case, and it'd be a visitation with the commission, unless you're wanting to give me authority to handle it. I'd say once you give me the authority to handle it, you won't know what's coming in and the reason for it.
I kind of have a problem with it because you drive down the interstate and hit a pothole and blow a tire out, you're not going to go to the state of Kansas or the state of Missouri and beg and plead for payment on it. They're not going to pay you a gosh darn thing. So I call it road hazard. I mean, I'm sure speed could have been a factor. I'm sure weight could have been a factor, you know. if it had rained and washed the road out, if the person's familiar with the territory, they ought to know that that's a possibility, so you need to be alert, you know, I don't know.
Only two I can recall, and we may have more, that I remember, one was a lady, we left a big old rock out in the road, she hit it, well, that was kind of our fault. And the other one was up on 050, she hit one of those mini deals, and that was kind of our fault too, but as far as just this, I'm with you.
I think you're gonna
that,
open yourself up for a big old
Right.
problem.
We're gonna be replacing everybody's tires for everything.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question, bring up an issue. I do know that he talked to Ryan, and they weren't able to get the plate out there before they moved cattle in, so. How long has it been before a blade had even been up that road?
I'd have to do more
Because
research
that's not a
on that.
well-traveled road, but yet the travel that is done is heavy loads. You know, it's semis of cattle and semis of hay and stock cattle and cattle. And there's, because of the hills, the ditching there is almost non-existent. The water runs down the road.
Mhm.
So it is a little, it's my nephew, so I'm gonna stay on the sideline if it comes to vote, but we're talking about a little different issue on that road. I'd almost bet the blade hasn't been on that road for a long time, but that's just an assumption.
Yeah.
But there's no ditches, all the water, most of the water goes down the road. There's very little ditching.
You're talking about half the roads in the Gridley area.
And lately with the rain,
And the only way you're gonna solve the outcropping is put more rock on the road, raise the roadbed up, and create a ditch on the outer side. You know, but still, you're gonna have to put 2 foot of material on the road to create the ditch on each side of the road.
It won't work. very
It's
good.
not gonna work out very good. So I say it's part of driving down the road.
He was gonna check to see if the company would handle it as road hazard, take, because a brand new tire. They put brand new rubber on the trailer. And it was $350 worth of tire, so I don't know whether he's talked to the business yet or not. But he was gonna explore that.
The road hadn't been bladed, I've been using a little caution going down it and kind of known what the road was, so I'm with Jesse on that. I think we're gonna open up something that we don't want to get into.
I can understand what happened up on 50 highway and what happened with the big rock left on the road. I mean, I can understand that to a point, you know. But a gravel road, you're entering at your own risk, the way I look at it.
also
Especially in the
the state highways.
Yeah.
You don't have no coverage on the state highways.
You can drive a few of them.
And right now, I-35.
Yeah, I watched, what was it, last Friday? Olivet Bridge overpass,
Oh, my.
there's 75, where you can exit off.
Yeah.
Little white car hit a pothole. Of course, the pothole was bigger than the vehicle's tire and just blew the left front tire out. And luckily, they didn't hit anybody on coming. I was behind them. They moved over to the right. And later on, the state got out there in the evening and punched most of the potholes there. I mean, these roads are horrible.
There's pretty good potholes on 75 that want to be,
So, I mean, I say, you're on a gravel road, you're on a gravel road. So that's where I'm at.
And so, thank you for that clarification. It's where we're at as well. You might open up bigger issues if we don't at least discuss it. On the dais too, you're gonna see dirt piles still along the fields. There's still gonna be crop damage that we're gonna come back on. These were agreements that we already previously had. The dirt piles, for the most part, there was coordination with either the owner or basically the renter of the property that is in contact with the owner of how we were removing the dirt piles. So some of the dirt was removed back to the landfill, and some of it was left. But as we have these agreements too, there's also the intention that these dirt piles they have up to a year to figure out what they're wanting to do with the dirt pile. the landowner. And then two is if they are asking us to move it, to be able to put that ground back into production, then the other is to basically to move it not, to a distance not any further than the landfill would be. So if the landfill's 3 miles, we wouldn't move the dirt pile more than 3 miles. So
So
that's
we-
the agreement that we're trying to make with everybody.
So dirt piles will stay forever, no matter what.
We hope to put basically a year on our responsibility of it, and then after that, if it's past the right of way, it can stay forever.
It's theirs.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be very productive if you did.
So for the first year, it's our responsibility
I'm trying to
to
create a
lay it out
policy.
for them.
Yeah, I'm trying to create a policy that basically does place us in an obligation 20 years from now
I sure
Still
hope it
have-
doesn't wind up in the ditches that we just cleaned out.
as well. It's a lot of effort and cost with what we've done. But I think you would agree too that over the 30+ years of that pile being that thick, I think we made a considerable effort to try to correct something that was a longstanding.
I think that's good, because we got into a long-term deal one time with some dirt.
Yeah, well, you remember that one.
I
up there on
remember that. That's why I
22nd.
think the year is a very good idea.
That's what I'm trying to do to make that from happening. These agreements, we try to nail them down pretty much. That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Good.
Yep, thanks, Wayne.
Right, thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Anybody want a break?
No, I want to hear what we want to say.
This might take a while.
That's why I was asking if you want a break. Warren?
One's a talker.
Good morning, everybody. And I
Morning, Warren.
appreciate Angie getting me on the docket on such short notice that, and I didn't want to come here, and I didn't want to write a letter to the editor, but I may have to do both because I am totally and absolutely in disagreement with you guys' decision to expel the extension office out of the courthouse. Now, if we've outgrown this courthouse, why don't we do what counties all across the state and all across the nation are doing as far as that goes, to building an annex, to put overflow offices, temporary offices, and such like that into. I don't understand why we've got to build a new building somewhere to house something. I just don't understand it. And now this judicial complex thing, that may, I'm not a judicial complex expert at all. Don't know anything about jails, never been in one. But that may solve the problem of overcrowding and also jail modernization. I don't know. I just don't know. But I'll tell you what, I do know about is extension has been in this courthouse since it was built. And it was in the old courthouse before this one here was built for a long, long time. And so it was in the right spot in those days, and it's in the right spot right now. And I am totally against putting us out of here. The next point is there should be absolutely 0 offices in Kelly Park. Kelly Park was gifted to the city of Burlington by the heirs of Kelly for the express purposes of Chautauquas, fairs, sporting events, and a bunch of other recreational uses, playgrounds and what have you. And I guarantee you, if you ask old Harry Kelly today, if he was alive, would you allow a county office down there? He would say no. He'd probably say hell no. And so I think you guys, you're cavalierly talking about dozing down a building and moving a extension office down there. And I'm having a real problem with the fact that apparently you don't know who owns the Crops, the Crops building. That Crops building was built in 1954 by the Fair Association, by volunteers from the 4-H clubs and Granges, and it was built for a 4-H exhibit building, and it belongs to the Fair Association. And you guys talk about building it down, and the Fair Association was never consulted till last week about it. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. And and so if you don't think we need a annex and an extension office got to be moved someplace else, then move it to someplace except the fairgrounds. The Kelly Park. Move it up and down 75 Highway somewhere. I don't care where you put it. Downtown be a good place, I'd say, but don't put it down there in Kelly Park. So another point about my crops building, we call it the crop building now. It used to be the 4-H exhibit building. When I first came here, it was the 4-H exhibit building before we built the new Kelly 4-H building. That was where we put 4-H exhibits. Now we put crops in it. It was built 67 years ago, and it is a uniquely designed and manufactured building built by local labor, local volunteer labor, and it's a part of Coffee County Fair history, Coffee County 4-H history. And I don't think that it ought to be done. It's a perfectly good building. It's been cared for, and it's got a few scratches. In 67 years, it's going to get a few scratches over time. I've got a few on me, and I'm older than that. But I don't know. I just hope that you guys will reconsider and slow down, for gosh sakes. I mean, this whole thing, I read it in the paper, and they had an ad that they was gonna open bids for demolition in like a week or two. That's the first I'd heard of it. And I read the paper, by gosh. And so, I think you guys are knee-jerk reaction, and it ain't, we never make fast, smart decisions. And I think you need to think about it. And by the way, I've heard several people discuss about who owns that building. Well, I guarantee you who owns that building is the Coffee County Fair Association and nobody else. And I've done a little research at our historical museum deal. And by the way, they're the most cooperative people I ever seen, as far as they've got stuff organized where I can get this information without, somebody's already done all the research and done a really good job, in my opinion.
Who owns the ground that sits on there?
The city of Burlington.
City's got it.
That's right.
Fair Board owns the building.
Yeah, the Fair Association, well, see, that's really, it's a complicated deal, Dawn. The city owns the land. And so the Fair Association has always built our buildings knowing fully well that we're building our buildings on somebody else's land,
You got a 100-year lease with that?
Pardon me?
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to dig in.
No, I know that's very good. Now,
I appreciate you coming in. Is there a 100-year lease on something like that?
nope. No, there's okay, that's another thing. I was instrumental in getting, we used to have a 20-year lease, and then it was 1991. And then the city said, well, we want to do something different. We wouldn't have no time. So now we have a 15-year lease, I believe it is, renewed every year.
Renewable.
So you got 15 years out to do something. The city would ever do something stupid like that. But,
My question. That was my question. Who owned the property that the building would be on? And so that was my concern.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
going out and spending X amount of dollars on a brand new building and being on somebody else's
It
property.
is, it sure is on somebody else's property. And I'm going to advise the Fair Association that if this does happen, which I hope the heck it don't, but if it does, that the Fair Association gets an ironclad contract stating that when the extension office fails to, or, quits using that building, that it reverts directly and absolutely to the Fair Association and not to the city or somebody else, because somebody else is gonna put offices down there, see?
Well, it was my understanding that it was gonna be solely for the extension and the fair. It was, if the fair needed it for something, it was gonna be guaranteed use whenever they needed it. That's why it's brought
Well,
down.
I'm sure.
Now, the existing building, we was told that it leaks water, it's unusable, and so on and so forth. So
You can go down there and look at it. You can go down and look at it, Jesse, I swear, it may have some leaks, or, I don't think the ceiling's leaking, the roof's leaking, the roof. But now there may be some water rushing in off of the, the grade may be, we keep building roads
might need
higher up,
to be tended to.
and it may be coming in that way, I don't know, I haven't been involved in it for, a long time, but.
Yeah, I went down to the sale and I visited with some of the people that was there, and they said they had to move some exhibits or something out of it because the water, or they was gonna have some stuff in it, and the water was in there, paintings or something, and so they didn't even have anything
I see.
in some part of that building because there was water standing. So
Okay, now
that was,
that building is a two-part deal, the original steel ox building is what I'm talking about. That lean-to on the side, that's just a common old steel building, that a dime a dozen, they're all over the place, and I don't care if they remove it or whatever, I don't care, that's of zero interest to me, historically. But now that old steel ox building is different, I defy anybody, any one of you guys to show me another one. Now, I know where there is one more, but I don't think you do. But that's the only one I know, and I've been looking for several years after I figured out that it's a, different kind of a deal. Most people go in there and don't even pay any attention, including me for, for 15 years, I never appreciated it, but I do now.
Look, Warren, we go a long way back. We've had a lot of experiences together. Did you know Harry Kelly?
No, I did not know
How
Harry
can you
Kelly.
speak for him then?
Huh?
How can you speak for him then? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you how. If you look at your handout there, May 14th, 1924, the city was trying to do something stupid down at Kelly Park. And the people of Burlington got on the city council's case, and I don't know if they knew Harry Kelly or not, but they said something, somewhere I've read that old Harry Kelly told them that the heirs of Kelly would take that park back if they did something that was unbefitting to the deed, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay. And you said you'd never known about this building. Well, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe it's longer than that, I don't know if Don was here. Fair Board came in and they wanted us to tear that building down and replace that building with a new building. They actually had plans for it and they had a bid for it, and then it kind of went away. So
See, I don't know much about
this is not
that.
the first time that building's been talked about being replaced.
Okay.
And first time it was by the Fair Board. The chairman and vice chairman and some of the board members came in to the commission meeting when we were upstairs, and they wanted that building replaced.
Okay, well,
So it's,
I'm not saying that the Fair Board, I wasn't on the Fair Board then, and I don't know what the Fair Board might have considered doing, but if it's a mistake, if they want to do it, it's a mistake if you want to do it. It's a mistake. And so that's how I feel about it. And seems like I want to tell you something else. Oh, yeah, I did want to tell you something else. When you talk about kicking extension out of the courthouse,
we're not talking about kicking them out.
Okay, moving, expelling, whatever you want to call it, get rid of them out of here. I've been told this by several people that I do know personally, that have died since, that that were active in the late fifties. And the commissioners in the late fifties were very appreciative of Bryce Orr and Anna Grace, can't think what her name was now, the home agent in them days, and all the extension supporters for rallying with the commissioners at that time to get this courthouse built. And I guarantee you, that's a fact. And I think you need to reconsider your decision to remove, expel, boot, kick, whatever you want to call it, people out of here. That's all I
You
got.
know, Warren, and you and I go back.
Yep, we do. That's right.
Back too far.
No, not too far.
But, you know, I fully appreciate your stand, your comments, your suggestions, and I think you probably understand to a point where we're coming from.
I do.
You know, we've kind of outgrown the courthouse
Yes.
as structured, and it's been under some review for a year or two, further back than just a month or two. But, you know, if we build an annex, probably costs us more money to build an annex onto the present courthouse than it would be a dedicated building someplace. And then the other place, I'm not sure we can even build an annex attached it to this building.
Well, I don't say it has to be attached to
Yeah,
the
it
building.
wouldn't
I mean,
have.
it could be
So,
down the street or up the street, down the street, up.
So
So
where
that
do we
would be-
stand at right, you know, we made a decision, not knowing all the facts. We didn't do enough discovery, in my opinion. Where do you suggest we go from now? You know, the city owns the property, the fair board owns the building. We got a motion, we got something in progress, work in process, what they always call it.
Yeah,
And that's come to a screeching halt because of some unknowns.
I appreciate that, but it ain't never too late until it's too late. And so,
That's the reason I'm asking the question.
I personally think, and I don't know enough about it to know for sure about this judicial complex thing. I mean, that does sound to me like, and I went to the educational meeting they had on at the library here a while back, and I don't know whether they need all of what they're talking about. I don't know if they've thought it out really well or not. I don't know, but that does seem like a thing that could kill two birds with one stone, in that solve the overcrowding and solve the jail deficiencies, or whatever you want to call it.
But the issue there is probably 3 years down the road.
Well, okay, so it's 3 years down the road. I mean, you gotta start sometime, you gotta start somewhere. But you know, what it sounds to me like you're almost considering doing is building a extension office that has to be maintained forever and ever, for perpetuity, and building a judicial steel that also has to be maintained for perpetuity. And by the way, the extension office in the fairgrounds is built on somebody else's land. And I know a lot of people, I have some relation who built a house on somebody else's land out in Colorado, some kind of a housing deal, and it's a darn poor plan. And so, you know.
Does the city have anything in writing based on this May 14th, where that ground's deeded over to the city and it can only specifically be used for that purpose?
Yes, sir. It's in the deed. Now, in my office, I used to have a copy of the deed, and the Fair Association president or secretary always had a copy of that deed. So there is a deed stating that fact.
Specifically, this is what it's gonna be used for.
Yes, sir. It specifies Chautauqua's fairs, sporting events, playground, picnics, and all that stuff. And it don't say nothing about any offices in a county office or city office or a business office.
you know, the city police department operated out of that
Yes, sir, I do.
a lot of years.
Yes, sir, I do. And I tell you what, that is one move that I supported, because before they went there, we were having all sorts of vandalism down there. We put in new light bulbs for the fair, and, you know, and 10 days later, they was all gone. And the city police department moved down there, and vandalism absolutely stopped. And then, of course, and they didn't take up any room. They just operated out of the old building was already there, you know? And then they moved across the street and vandalism hadn't picked up because you're gonna be on county camera if you pull into that fairgrounds. And so I support every bit of that. But I don't support building a new building down there for office, for some other kind of office. So,
Warren, on the extension offices being in courthouses, aren't we one of the last ones kind of in the area?
oh, I don't know. I can't tell you that. I really can't, Tim.
Alright,
I know, Osage has got an annex. Franklin's got an annex with some other health office stuff.
I know Lynn isn't.
Okay, Lynn never did it. Never was it. Well, I mean, I don't know never. But when I trained in
I know you did.
in Lynn County to start with, and they was downtown on the street, then, downtown office, But, Lynn,
See, the building down there is still an annex. But it's just not on property that
It's not
It's
on
owned
the
by
state or.
It's still an annex.
County property.
say that again.
If it was built down there, technically that's an annex, whether it's built there or on the highway or where. But right now, the land belongs to someone else.
Yeah.
And to me, you gotta document that maybe, if it's specifically on that deed, we need to do some more discovery, or in my opinion, more discovery. Of course, our county attorney's not here that would do that for us.
I see. I think you need to do some more discovery, all right, I sure do, and it's, well, that's all I got.
Warren, thank
Appreciate
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Warren.
for
Thank
giving me the opportunity, and I called up Angie at the last minute on Friday to see if I could get on here. Thank you, girl.
Thank you for that,
Knowing that Warren was gonna come in, I spoke with Darrell this morning. He's been researching on who does Ashown property. He's been talking with the city, he's been talking with the fair board. He said the fair board's having a meeting Wednesday night, correct? And they're gonna make a decision on whether they wanna move forward. So nothing's actually gonna happen until the fair board's on board and all like that, so. As far as the relocation, as far as I know, the ag department's in full favor of it. And in the back of that building, there'll be an exhibit area and a place where the 4-Hers can actually meet, am I correct?
Yep.
As right now, they have to use the, what's called the 4-H building down there at Kelly Park. And the city police comes in, locks it, and locks it back up when they're done. This one be at discretion of 4-H instead of having rent from the city, so to speak. So,
How was that one done? The 4-H building we are using now? Who
the
actually owns it?
city,
City. And if you want to reserve it, it can only be reserved 6 months in advance. The fair board knows they're gonna use it every year, but it can still only be reserved 6 months in advance. If I happen to be the first person in there 6 months from the day of the fair, and I say I wanna use that building, I can use it, the fair board's not gonna be able to use it.
now this would give the ag and the fair board more control of their property, so to speak.
Originally, that building was
Come on
built,
up, if you will.
I don't know how much time you've got or any more questions.
All day long.
All day long. Tim, originally the 4-H building, as we know it now, was built by, Fair Board. They paid 3/4 of the cost. At the time it was built, the city wanted to see it expanded by 1/4, so they ended up paying 1/4 of the cost. And that's the way it was built and paid for originally. Then, it was just decided by the fair board if the city would maintain it, do the maintenance and all that kind of stuff on it, they just turned it over to the city. The way I understand it from notes that I've been able to come across. So that's kind of the origination of that one. but it was paid for 3/4 by Fairboard, 1/4 by the city. So, just a couple of things real quick, I guess. As far as Discovery goes, Don, city is in the process of determining the legal description of that property. In conversation with Stan Luke a week ago at the special meeting that was held, they are in the process of verifying that that building is the one, finding legal documentation of it and that sort of thing. Warren was right. There is and I had asked before we ever started this whole process, I'd asked city officials and several people who actually owned the building, and no one could give me an answer. But it's interesting that it was actually found in an ordinance, but there is an ordinance, number 272, section 7 and 8, that says that all buildings owned by the fair are to be maintained and kept in repair by the fair without cost to the city. Agreement between the city and county states the county is responsible for maintenance and insurance. Oh, no, that was my next point. As far as an agreement goes, I presented some rough wording to the city council. It's my understanding that they have submitted that wording to the city attorney for review and to wordsmith it, as I was told, to come up with an agreement between city and county. I thought Bobby also mentioned to me that he had submitted something. I visited with him a little bit about it and gave him that exact same rough wording. And I was under the impression that he had submitted something to Wade to take a look at as well. So as far as Discovery goes, we're still trying.
There needs to be more discovery.
It's in progress. I mean, it's not like we're just out there trying to push this thing through. We're trying to make sure things are in order, before, but by the same token, we're trying to keep the ball rolling. So I don't know if you had this in your packet today or not, but this is an architect agreement that we've had drawn up for your approval, I guess, to hopefully start getting the drawings started so we can keep, like I say, keep the project on track, I guess, if that's the case. We did also have one demolition bid submitted, and I submitted that to Andrea as well for your inclusion to look at today. So I'm just trying to keep things going as directed and keep them in order. So anyway.
Well, again, no plans to move forward until we hear back from the fair board whether this is something they want to do, correct?
Yeah, at the special meeting we had, there were several fair board members in attendance. They actually had kind of their own little session, and when we all came back together, it was their conclusion that they saw no reason not to go forward with it, but because this was a special meeting, they felt like they needed to hold the vote at their regularly scheduled meeting, which is this Wednesday evening. So that is what we're waiting on. Yeah.
We had something similar like this happen in Leroy 50 years ago. The football field the grant property was donated to the Pennon family, World War II veteran. And we got a lot of money from Jones Trust, put new fences up, new poles, new lights, new everything. We wanted to jointly call it the Pennon Field and Jones Trust, because anything Jones Trust puts money in, you're supposed to put their name on. But because of the original agreement, it had to stay at Pennon Field only. And we're in that similar situation right here. Different, but yet similar.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique situation.
You gotta do some discovery first.
Yeah.
I believe Darrell's doing I believe he's doing the discovery that's needed. I really do.
Yeah.
I've been in conversation with him many, many times on that stuff. So sounds like he runs into little bumps here and there, and turn around and back up.
Yeah. One of the things that came up, I think, during the fair, some misinformation, excuse me, that was being presented was there was the comment out there that the fair board would no longer have access to this building and would lose storage and that sort of thing. And that was part of the reason for holding this special meeting, was to clear the air on some of the misinformation that was out there. And that is by no means, it's like you said, every intention for exhibit space to still be there for fair board to utilize, that exhibit area within this new building whenever they need it, on scheduling and that sort of thing.
And a
So,
place for them to hold their meetings.
place for them to hold their meetings and everything else, yes.
How many square foot do you guys house now?
We house now, I measured that off the other day. I want to say it's around 1,700 square feet or something like that. I'd have to double check.
And where Architect is at 5,500 square feet?
That's the entire building. Yeah, well, now are you asking for our office here or?
Office here.
Yeah, office here would be 1,700 square feet. Now, combining our office space and the Crops building space is, the Crops building is about 2,200. So, if you're looking at a combination of the two square footages, it's about, well, it'd be
Close to 4,000.
close to 4,000.
4,000.
Yeah.
Your office space here is somewhere around 40 by 40? Something.
It's kind of hard to
It's a
say.
little bigger
because
what-
it's-
bigger what it
it's-
looks.
Yeah.
How many offices are up there upstairs?
How many offices?
Offices are up there.
We've got 2 offices and a reception area,
Okay, so
a
three.
storage room.
So 3. I haven't been in there.
Yeah.
My apologies.
No, that's fine.
And your office, and you said you got a storage room?
Yeah, kitchen, and well, meeting and storage is kind of the same thing. And I guess that brings up a point I would like to ask a question on. Bobby had approached us about moving an individual into that storage conference area and need to do it fairly quickly. If that needs to be done, we would need to relocate some of our stuff that we have in storage. I didn't know if that closet under the stairs, is it?
Is it empty?
Okay.
Is it empty?
Where?
Somebody said you maybe had some, election stuff in there, or no? Underneath the stairs there? Under the stairs.
In the boiler room?
No, next to the,
Just
Where
as
you-
you come
where you
in
going
the
to-
west entrance.
Oh,
where you going to economic development, there's this.
yeah, that's our ballot, that's where our ballot, all old election ballot stuff.
Okay. No
We
chance.
have to keep that, available for several years.
Right. I mean, is there, will it fit in another room, I guess I'm asking, or, I mean, does it have more room where you're,
Is that, my ballots, are they in where you keep all the voting machines?
Yeah, they're in underneath that stairwell.
I didn't know if there'd be a chance for temporary storage there or something.
Can they be moved to the,
Well, it's gonna take up a lot of my space because I have to keep elections for several years and they can't be accessed by anyone else, but I don't know if someone's got keys that are getting access or not, I don't know.
I just thought I'd ask. That was the only
I can,
no,
alternative we could think of to get things moved around fairly quickly to maybe make that happen.
I can see if I can figure out how much I've got there and see if I can move anything around in my election room.
I mean, it's a possibility, that's great, not, I mean.
Could a person get a bulk storage and set it somewhere? For a container? I know it kind of looks a little redneck, but storage is storage. I mean, I'd much rather see it in a container that costs $4,000 and you can lock it up and it's steel and it's versus spending thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars you know, when we can make,
If it's temporary, are there storage units available temporarily?
They're not.
They're
I'd
not.
say they're pretty
We
well
have
packed
checked,
up.
we've checked into those, they're not, the containers, like I say, they're $4,000 or $5,000 purchase. They're like 200, did we say 200 a month?
$3,000 for a 20-footer, and $6,000
I
for
don't
a
remember
40-footer.
hearing
Right, right.
To rent one is like, it seems a little expensive, it was like $200 a month.
Yeah, I think you'd be better off just buying one, then you can move it, then you can move it somewhere like where, I mean, there's big enough yard down at the county yard or wherever, I mean, it can be moved pretty easily.
Talking about putting permanent records in, maybe it's gonna have to be climate controlled.
Well, I mean, something like his stuff, whatever they've got in that storage room, and I mean, I don't know.
I'd still want
No,
some climate
we-
control, those things are 150 degrees in summertime,
Yeah.
below zero in winter.
Minimum.
How much do you have?
Oh, we just, in that room that we're talking about relocating stuff, there's not that much. There's only, maybe 10 foot of shelves, 4 shelves high. It's not a terrible large amount.
Are they in file boxes?
Is it records?
Is it records?
No, it's miscellaneous program stuff, that we use off and on during the year for programs.
You wouldn't want to put it very far away, 'cause you're gonna have to research.
We'd like to have it fairly accessible, you know, so we can get to it.
Is there space in our locker room here? Last time I was in there, there were some shelves that didn't have anything on. Is there space in our current storage area?
Yeah, I have to look, I don't know, or Andrea.
And are you talking that room right in there? Yeah.
Last time I was in there, there was quite a
That's
bit of
the
space.
records area, isn't it?
Didn't Marilyn move her dirt out of next door here?
I don't know.
I thought she moved her dirt out, moved it up to where the office she's in now. That space there, I mean, it's wall space, but I mean, we're not talking for life.
No, it'd be just temporary.
Well, if you can let me
Sure.
see what I can do in my election room, and if I'm able to pull that stuff in there,
Okay,
I'll see if I can do that, and then we can have that, since that would be closer to you.
okay,
But
Yeah.
I can't guarantee, but I'll see what I can do.
sure. No, I just thought I'd ask to try to help, again, move the process.
The sad thing about this whole cotton picking deal is we're down here and should be upstairs, and this area could be a makeshift office for somebody. If we can get our rears back up there, that's gonna open this up, and a person can close it off, make cubicles, do whatever you need to do, and you got just this much more room. I said my piece.
Amen.
I'm done.
Any more questions, I'd be happy to visit with
No, I
whenever. So,
I think you're being thorough in your research and commend you for that. As long as we make sure all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed before we proceed with any demolition or anything.
Thank you all for your time.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you.
Want to break down?
Break.
Do anything else other than round table?
Well, Bobby's gonna join us, the round table.
Yes, if you don't mind.
Sir?
He'd like
You
to,
don't mind if we take a little break?
Oh, yes, sir.
thank you.
Yeah, no doubt.
I talked to William yesterday, but I forgot to ask him about that. I forgot to ask him a question.
Well, we've got several things coming at us as far as that goes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So,
Called off. I didn't realize he's out of town. I called him last night at 7:00. And I didn't realize he was in town until this morning.
yeah, I didn't realize his flight got moved.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of flights getting booked right now.
Otherwise, he'd been. Sorry about that, Robert.
Andrew got tied in on a phone deal, says she'd be able to get back in. Yeah, next.
Oh, yeah.
We are back. We've asked Bobby to resurface for us, which he has. Talk some more on this, financing of the judicial center.
So, I feel that we really need to get this ironed out before we have any more meetings, you know, with the public people. I mean,
And again, I would have to go back and apologize. I mean, with the previous administration, at the sheriff, and again, when Mr. Haddock resigned, I got put in that position, if you will, and I thought, and it's already discussed, that it was gonna be so much reserves, so much bond issues, so evidently it's not finalized, but it's up to us to do it, so.
now, does this bond issue, number 2, option 2, does it have to go to vote?
No, sir.
It doesn't have to go to vote. It's our decision right here.
Correct.
And I'm okay with that, but I think people have a right to vote whether they want the project or not.
Exactly. I don't wanna take any rights away from
No.
them, nor do I wanna raise any taxes on them.
If they don't want it, no, I'm not gonna build it. We'll do something different, where we have to.
Yes.
Regarding the finance piece, your question specifically, it is traditional that public body would hold public hearings just to allow public input, also to relay in a physical setting what you're doing. Even though you're being watched on YouTube right now.
Right.
It's traditional to hold public hearings.
Not everybody's watching. A lot of them are, but not everybody.
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, I think some discovery on
It'd be option 3, right? Option 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, yeah, 1, 2, and 3, sorry. 1, 2, and 3.
That's just a draft, what you said there.
So I think if somebody could pull some numbers of what $15 million is gonna do in investments, you know, over a 15-year period versus, I mean, you said, you know, roughly 2.5, but maybe more realistic, a 1.5%.
Yes, sir.
Cost. I mean, if you can get, I'm sorry, people, but if you can get money for 1.5% and not deplete your accounts,
Yes, sir.
I'm not an educated individual, but that's cheap.
That's cheap.
That's very cheap.
Well, and I just want to say, the issue we just had here for building, that's one of the things, what we have been doing and we have done with our reserves. And if we go start depleting all of our reserves, when things like that happen to come up, we're not gonna be able to do it.
Right.
We've helped quite a few of the cities with added infrastructure and stuff too. And I think that's what it's about, is let's just don't help a handful, let's help most all that we can.
Yes, sir.
You know, I think that's where it comes from, and I don't know where the $850,000 for Old Highway 50 is coming from, but it's still taxpayers' money. And that's another, so we're already, if we do that in the building, we're already looking at over $1 million of our reserves going somewhere.
Yes.
And so I think I'm thinking basically what Jesse's probably thinking is go the whole thing and 15 years can be looked at and it can be paid off. That's what it comes to.
Sure. And I think the public would respect the decision. I mean, granted, there's gonna be, I mean, I'm assuming wanting to vote, you know, for this bond issue, for the jail, or for the judicial center. you know, if you include them, you know, I think they, and knowing that they're not going to be charged 1 penny of taxes to go towards this, I think the general public, I hope, would see the responsibility and the reasoning behind it.
Yes, sir. To further your point about, and also Mr. Donald's, about weighing the, whether to invest upfront with some of the reserve money or to just finance the entire deal at the lower rate. There have been years in the past where your former revenue officer had about probably a 3% return on average. I think one of those years is pretty recent. That is something we can show. I had a discussion with Richard, the new revenue officer, last week. And he intends to be very very studious in seeking a return for the county with its reserve funds. And now the political climate is causing municipal bond rates to go up. That's what most of the market return rates that we have our money in are based off of. So you're gonna see those go up. And I think it's a good time for at least the county to have a bunch of cash in the bank, because you will see a return.
So right now, there's bonds out there, if you go out, pardon me, if you go out 30 years at 1.5%,
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, I think so.
can you pay it off? How early can you pay it off?
Like we mentioned earlier, the buyers of those bonds, when they sell at market, they're gonna have requirements of call protection. They're gonna wanna make sure that they get at least 15, 20 years out of the
See,
amortization.
that's what's hurting Lynn County a little bit. They're paying, paying interest for a longer period of time when they can pay it off.
Yes, sir.
But if they're investing their money, they're gaining twice as much of what the interest is.
But their investments aren't bringing any money in right now.
Right
They
now,
should be. They're poorly invested if they're not.
Because our Sheridan County level's not, Jesse. You know, we just seen that quarter report here about a month, 2 months ago. And it only brought in
less than percent.
$10,000 or $15,000. I mean, it didn't bring in nothing. Where 2 years ago, it brought in over $1 million over a 12-month period.
That's right. That was the year I was speaking.
You know, you take 25 million at 1.5%, that's $375,000 a year interest. 1.5% sounds cheap. That gets into dough, gets into money real quick.
225,
Pardon,
225.
what'd I say?
375.
Well, 1.5%, it'd be 375. At 1.5%, if you borrowed the whole 25 million.
I was
So it does get into money real quick. And I'm willing to reach a compromise on pull some from reserve. And like Angie mentioned, you know, in the last 6 years, and it's not including 21, and it's not projecting 22, the county's put 31 million in reserves. Of course, some has been pulled out for a project here and a project there. But unencumbered funds right now, at the end of our last audit, was 40,800,000.
Yes, sir.
And the year before was 36.5. So unencumbered funds moved up 4 million.
Yes, sir.
So to me, we need to put them someplace in use and not drawing 1 or 0.2%. Where that common ground is, I don't know, but we got a lot of funds sitting that currently aren't drawing much money. And last time I understood from Karen, you know, when she presented that quarter report, maybe not the last time, but year end, you know, the funds being invested out to the bank. Savings and loans are down to, or savings and CD rates are down to 1 to 0.2% at some of the local banks, as I understand it, and I stand to be corrected possibly, but.
That's accurate.
Huh?
You're accurate.
So where can you take these funds and get offsetting entry? Now, if you get an offsetting, pay 1.5 and get 1.5, where's that 1.5 at?
Well, this is not my, not my,
Definitely not my expertise, long way.
yes, sir, I would much prefer Richard to speak on this, but you realize that over the past year and a half, money that we had invested in the municipal bond trust, where we were getting that good return, has been drawn back into local, just liquid, made liquids, and invested and put into local banks. So that's been happening for a while now. That's why we didn't have a good
It's
return.
almost zero return right now.
That's correct. So based on my conversation with Richard, he plans to get right back in the game and start making the county money again.
If that's the case, he needs to be helping us out with our decision process.
I believe he would be happy to.
Can he go down?
Can the county loan money and charge interest to itself?
That's what I was just, for some reason, sitting there thinking.
You know, I mean, why couldn't the county fund a judicial system, charge 3% interest to itself, or even 1.5%?
Well, it's charged to the sheriff's department.
Yeah, and then
Are you
it's
listening,
just,
Tom?
I mean, it's just,
So on that note, it is a very popular thing for local governments to buy their own bonds, or pieces of their own bonds. So when this thing goes to market, let's say Bank of America buys a big piece, but the county can put a bid in for a piece. And you can do just what you're saying and buy the bonds, and it's tax exempt, comes back to the county with no taxation. You
We're
don't
not
make
taxed, we're not taxed anyway.
Well, that's true, but only, remember what I said about the physical deployment of this money when you spend it. So the money that's gonna be spent on the project, there's gonna be a tax exempt piece and a taxable piece. Tax exempt piece are for the things that are normally tax exempt, infrastructure, professional services, but vertical structure, didn't see anything vertical is gonna be taxable.
That's what I was gonna ask you on a $25 million project, how much of that is sales tax?
The materials should be tax exempt.
labor should be the only thing that should be.
Yes. Well, actually, it's new construction. I don't think there is tax on new.
I'm not sure any of it's taxed.
None of it would be
Cost
taxed.
run the county a year.
I'm not sure any of it is, but I'm not authority.
What's the cost run the county a year?
About 36 million, I think.
Let's see,
Do what, Bob?
I wonder how much it costs to run the county for a year, because you keep wanting to spend all of our reserves, and I think that I'm still arguing the point that when we start spending all those reserves, which we've been trying to build up for years, is down the road, Lincoln County's gonna be borrowing money at 4 and 5% to replace the 1.5 to 2% that they think they're saving now.
38,982 last year.
Just to operate.
Just to operate. So if things go south out there, we're still gonna have to exist.
Where you getting that figure from?
Page 5.
Because we got 600,000, we got 600 or 600 million at 50 mils, only bring in 30, and yet we get a surplus 45 every year. You're on page
Well,
what?
you're using cash carryover too.
I'm sorry?
Cash carryover is included in that. So, page 5, if you look at your total expenditures,
Is any part of that going to the cities? Any part of that going to the school? We collect a lot of money for lots of different departments and lots of different entities. How much of that's going to those entities?
well, if you look on page 4 right above, you'll see you're paying out to ambulance, county library, conservation, you can be down the list there. Low water infrastructure, that's in the general fund, that's the one we're gonna get rid of there. Community improvement is sitting there.
And that's like general fund receipts are 15 million, expenditures 15 million.
Right.
And offset, not all that is county expenditures, as we recognize it's what it takes to operate the entity itself.
But then you've got outside departments too.
I fully understand. That's a question Phil may need to, is asking the question of what it costs to operate this entity as a business. It's different than what's gonna be showed here, but I'm not capable of breaking it all down, and maybe Phil's the only one that can break it down.
Well, the little pieces that I've seen, some of that is, we're saving money elsewhere. So even though we're not spending it, we're having to save it for like a landfill.
That's in the
So,
reserve fund. yeah.
right, and that's part of the 15 million, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's, if you don't spend it today, then you're gonna be hit with a big bill later. So even though it doesn't technically cost a cent to spend it, or to run this year, we're saving ourselves later with that piece.
One of the questions that the commission had just asked was that our current reserve monies, our current money sitting outside the budget, but that were invested at some point.
Mhm.
Where do they physically exist now? Are they at a local bank, or are they?
According to statute, money has to stay in county as much as it can, and then what can goes to the state pool. And we're allowed to basically invest in CDs and the state pool. I think we can get some treasuries. You can also get treasuries within the county, but that's what they prefer is money here. So it's not like I can go out and buy whatever the hot topic is. And that's what I do, but that's not what the county can do. So long story short, there's not a whole lot of gain right now if you look at interest rates that they're offering on CDs. So yes, I go out and I say, well, what can you show me as far as, and that's what we have to have from a county standpoint, collateralized securities that are backing up our deposits at the bank. We have to make sure that, we're not giving them $10 million and they're going out and blowing it on something else. So it has to be something backing up. But
They're
even though,
pledging securities back.
right, and so the securities are backing it. They might be making money on it, but we aren't. And that's what I asked. I said, so why am I giving you money so you can go make it? And yet you're only going to give me 1/10%.
See, that's what's killing us right now. Saving, my understanding, savings and CDs are all 1/10 of 1%.
Mm-hmm. It's minimal.
I mean,
We get a little more than that, but it's not a lot.
yeah. I know the last quarter report was it was very, very low compared to 2
It's
years
sick.
ago.
And so I know there is, the biggest pool is at Central National. Right now, it's just sitting in cash because Karen didn't want me to step in and have things tied up that we couldn't get to. And so I need to, and that's what I'm working on, but my contact is gone. So now I'm trying to make a new contact. But anyway, that's where the bulk of it is just making minimal money. Last year, the county was fortunate enough that Central was doing something different, and so they paid us extra so that they could do that. But for the most part, my hands are tied on what we can put money in. CDs and treasuries, that's about it. They're paying a little above nothing.
So how was the several millions of dollars made a year or so ago?
The bulk of it came from a fortuitous happenstance at Central National. They said, we will pay you extra if we are allowed to move your money from point A to point B, is how I understand it. And just for a little while, and then we'll put it back for you.
I think that particular year, most of it was Central National. Of course, they had securities pledged, but I know there was a 12-month period, 2020 probably, where it netted over $1 million. But boy, it all fell apart after. And I don't understand.
How that happened.
Yeah, it wasn't basic CDs.
Yeah.
Those rates haven't been over 0.5% in a long time.
Well, so that goes back to my question. Can the county loan itself money and pay interest on it versus going into a bond type deal? Create your own loan and charge yourself the interest.
To avoid that question, to avoid answering that question, yes, and I'll get you the backup from, if you sit down with a bond attorney. It's been done before, many times.
I mean, that's just,
I haven't done that yet.
that's my thinking. I mean, you're gonna loan yourself money, you're gonna charge yourself interest, I mean, I sat here and watched $1.5 million get wrote off for a entity, you know, probably another $1.5 million is gonna get wrote off for it. Why can't we just loan ourselves the money and charge the county, you know, the interest to make it back up versus giving it to somebody else? You can hang your fruit up here, which is the total money to fund the project, you can hang it up here. But you're gonna charge yourself interest towards it.
He's Robert, here to play ball, but at least you're not having any net loss.
Right.
You're not,
You're self-financing it, but you're not getting rid of any money.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
you're physically not losing any.
Right. And you're not depleting
Technically, you're not depleting
funds.
your reserves because you.
Right.
Go back, yeah.
Right. And then you're also making the interest that you're gonna charge yourself for that.
I question if there's a way to do that, but I have no idea.
Bobby said there is.
With certainty, there
I'm
is.
sorry?
With absolute certainty.
Hey, Richard,
there
check
is.
that out, don't you? Please.
I mean, if a person can do something like that, I mean, I mean, I say a no-brainer, but I'm sure there's more to it
It's
than
getting
that.
all close to no brainer.
Yeah. I mean, that way you're just not spending your whole $25 million or whatever it is gone, depleting the accounts. You can use it as collateral, charge interest towards it. You're paying yourself to have that money sitting in an account.
Does the commission come back this Wednesday?
No,
If the commission sets our time this coming Monday, we can schedule the bond attorney to sit down. And I would prefer Richard be involved in that as well.
And I don't have a problem with it. Myself, it should be.
we need to bring all the expertise in that we can. You know, that's just like that little illustration I put together, like if we borrowed 13 million over, just for 10-year period at 5%, it is at 5, because I wasn't sure what was out there. But that 13 million, at the end of 10 years, is 16.84. That cost the county 3.8. So it is pretty costly if we can't find some way to fund it the right way. I'm not saying this isn't the right way, but to me, it's way too expensive. I think Jesse's thought if anything like that could be done, need to explore, do all the discovery we can. But time's an issue too.
Well, we've got to get it hashed out because there's meetings coming in, there's people going out, and you still have the same question. How are you going to pay for it? What's the return on your investment? And this is another way that you can put another return on the investment too. You're charging yourself interest
Without losing any money.
without losing any of your gross.
That's an excellent idea. Yes. It's done all over.
That's not saying you couldn't pull some upfront money out of reserve. And you could compromise a little bit both ways, if that was a decision.
The thing that bothered me from all of this and looking at it, and I'm sure you've heard it a million times, is that it's an estimate. Where's the upper limit? And the people that usually come in and tell you a project like this, I mean, I have friends that's what they do, is they're in projects, and they say, you know, you will come in and tell me, oh, it's $20 million, and you'll come in and say, well, you know, I've got an extra $1 million I need for this other piece that's not included in that because we need a different upgrade. Well, pretty soon, when everybody that isn't talking together finally gets together, we're looking at 30 to 50% increase. And by the time you get done, another 20% increase just on rising materials costs. All of a sudden, you're 60% higher than where we started.
Yeah, and it's gonna be hard for anybody to put an iron number out there with, I mean, we've already lost $100,000 kicking the can down the highway, or $1 million kicking the can down the highway, just in the last 3 months.
Right. And I understand we need new facilities, but, you know, is that the size of facility we need? So, but that's not what I'm here for.
The facility in Lynn County, the bids did come in a little bit higher than what the forecast was by the company we retained. But they've only had 8 in the construction time of 1.5 years. they've only had either 8 or 9 change orders for a minimum amount of money. So the contract that they did come down with, you know, is pretty well been stable.
Didn't it run about 3 million over? Cause they couldn't do.
2 point, yeah, the original deal was for 30 million, and that included 3 million to remodel. Well, when they got the bids in, the bids came up near the 30 million, which is a projection of about 12% over what their 25 million was, or 27 million was. Came up about 11 or 12% over. Hopefully that wouldn't be the case here, but you can't rule nothing out.
Same people.
For some construction material now, it's kind of taken a big dip over the last 4 or 5 months, but we don't know where that's going to end up.
I don't remember the exact figure, but I know when this first started, I mean, we're not talking about a whole lot size difference, but the numbers were substantially lower.
About 17 million when it started.
Yeah, so I think Goldbergs have tried to adjust themselves to the cost of inflation and whatnot. How well that can be done, I'm not sure of any entity right now. I know I get bids from material suppliers and they say that's good for this week. Can't promise you next week.
Well, yeah, from the day you pull the trigger, let's start construction, till the day you need that 2x4 or 2x12, whatever it is, that thing could go up 30%. You know, and if you need a lot of them, that.
And these pods are made of metal, and that's one thing it is. I mean, rebars right now hit $10 a stick. This time last year, he was buying it for $4.50.
It's down to $4 now. Somebody went to buy 2x4 studs the other day, and they were down $4 currently.
2x4 work.
2x4 back down to 4, at this one location.
That's not rebar.
That's not
That's not
rebar.
rebar.
I was talking rebar.
Okay, I'm
It's like,
sorry.
if rebar's down to $4 a stick, let me know where that's at.
Yeah. Rebar's still probably 10.
But yeah.
We'll fund it by reselling it from the county.
Exactly.
But I mean, just, that's from my personal experience. I mean, so, you know, like I say, these pods for the jail is made out of metal, so. But Jesse's absolutely right.
My opinion is, to just get this off of center, because we keep talking around in circles, talking about everything else, but my opinion is, I'm kind of Jesse, option 3 but I'd like more information. But option 3 is where I think we ought to go with, which would actually include the option of we borrowing from ourselves.
I don't know why we can't have a jail fund,
Have a
or,
budget.
a jail or a judicial fund like you have for bridges.
Yeah.
You know, you just roll X amount of money in it, it's still here. We can charge ourselves interest on it. I just don't know why you couldn't do it.
Well, whether you can or you can't, I'm with option 3 myself as far as the bond issue. No increase in any sort of tax whatsoever to the general public. And finance it that way.
And possibly 15 years, they'll be able to take another look at it, and I'll guarantee you, none of us are gonna be here.
Might not be here after the next fall.
So then I hear the commission would like to dedicate some time Monday to sit down with the bond attorney.
Yes. I
would. And, yeah,
And tell them,
and really discuss basically option 3 and with Jesse's option, with Jesse's thoughts on it.
yeah, make him fully aware of what our intentions are.
If I could see what option 3 is, I'll be more than happy to get some more.
I got an extra one closer.
I mean, who you want. Actually, it says 2 on there, but it's actually the bottom one.
It'd be the bottom one.
Yeah, it's got a pencil mark on it.
I know, our Sheriff Tom Johnson is set up to visit with a regular city council meeting Wednesday night.
Mhm.
So of course that would be on acquisition of property. So I suppose there'd be no reason to put a hold on that.
You got to
Just
buy the
won't
property before you
build
build it.
Won't be able to answer maybe some questions.
Well, that might bring up more questions for next Monday after Tom visits with the city again. You know, you're kind of getting the horse before the stagecoach. So you gotta have the property before you can.
And see, I don't understand the city of Burlington thinking on that, because how we're gonna fund it. We're not talking about the fund. All we're talking about is the option. The option on the land is all we're talking about, but they wanna see, I don't know what they wanna do.
Like I say, I think we've got some more research to do, and we'll know more next Monday if we get a bond person in here.
Thanks for
yourself.
involving Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So that will take us to roundtable. Wade can't be with us today, so Angie.
So we were talking about that stairwell storage room beneath the, stairs there where I have my ballot stock.
Yes,
Or it's actually not blank ballot stock, it's actual ballot from each previous election. And as, the chain of custody goes, it needs to be secure. It can't be in a location where anyone can, like in my regular election room, we're in and out of there so much. If something were to happen to any of that ballot, ballots or reports or anything, you know, if someone else went in there, like sometimes we have vendors come and work on our election equipment, I have to build a cage in that election room. Probably put that in there, and I'm not sure if that would even be, acceptable by the Secretary of State's office, so,
We do the same thing here.
yeah.
in
So
this storage.
I think probably where that's at, I kind of need to leave it where it is, so.
can you, just a question only, is there room for that stuff in your other area if there was a cage?
That I still have to look into,
So
but I would
that
have to.
would be my next question.
And I'm not sure if that would be acceptable by the Secretary of State's office to have it even in that room where other people would be, even if there were a cage in there, that I don't know. I have to do some more checking.
So that goes back to my question. If that was allowable, is there room in there?
That's what I still have to see if I have enough room to put that in there. I don't know at this time, so. And I don't have anything else, so.
Check on both of those, I guess, if you don't mind, and then, because I think, well, I'm assuming come up with some sort of, I mean, bolt it to the floor.
Otherwise, I
Got a
guess if
pad
the
on.
bank has a vault or something, I can put it in a vault, I don't know.
But still other people have access
But
to
other
it.
people have access to it, so.
I would be interested in the Andrea getting hold of, Marilyn and see where she'd have her dirt lab. I mean, if we're just talking of wall space where they can store stuff, if she has moved, which mine, and I haven't really checked, but if she has moved her stuff upstairs to where into her office, there should be some wall space there that's not used for anything.
And it could be keyed only for, I'm assuming you're the only one that can enter this room?
Well,
I know.
Bob's talking about just.
I'm talking about right over here.
Right,
over
no,
there.
But he's talking about the ag stuff, not her stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, he's
Yes,
talking about.
I'm talking about Agnes moving their stuff down, because a
Oh.
lot of their,
I was thinking of her stuff,
Yeah.
their voting stuff.
He's just,
Probably
they're just
the
want
shell.
temporary storage for their ag stuff, will almost be an easier move than what Angie's stuff would be.
their stuff is on shelves, they can take it off, probably move the shelves down, put it along that wall, all they got is against the walls in there anyway.
I agree.
Their stuff isn't sensitive, you can put it about anywhere.
Exactly.
Like, that's why I want to say, if we could get upstairs, a person could even portion part of this off for something.
We'll have to wait for a while, sounds like.
We're here for a while, is that what you said?
I think so.
Yeah.
Is that it,
Yes.
Tim?
Only thing I have, ECAN meeting Tuesday night, regular board meeting in person, as we know. So far.
Jesse?
I haven't had a fireman board meeting for quite a while, have I missed them? Or are they not having them? That'd be a question for Brad.
Friday, I'll check with him today.
Planning, zoning, I think there's something coming up here before too long. I go, I don't know. This extension thing is kind of sort of blowing my mind, the document that we have here. We're going to a 5,500 square foot building.
And that's to allow for exhibits to be held.
Right, no, I understand that, I understand that. Maybe I'll just save that for another day, when we get more information.
Well, I haven't spoken to Wade on this, but as far as that contract, I'm pretty much not gonna sign it till he looks it over, not to mention, I wanna make sure all the verbiage is correct as far as who actually should be signing it. I know that we said we'd write the check, but,
Well, I'm looking at, we're gonna pay them $65,000,
I haven't read it, I'm sorry.
That's what it looks like to me.
just theirs, and the building's over $1 million.
Yeah.
The estimated cost. Now we'll go into it.
Has this been put out for bid as far as, or will people bid to them?
It has not been put out yet, to my knowledge, we bid to the architect.
This is
Well,
just
to
the
the owner.
architect.
Owner, which would be us, but to the architect, yes.
I think there needs to be a lot more discovery done before we advance any further on this.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
I don't know
the
whether Wade's looked at it or not.
I know the bids out there for
I don't think so.
construction, you're looking at $200 square foot, 175, it might even be 225 by now.
It's $1 million.
Who knows, that right there is $1 million, And then you've got $65,000 $450 in architect fees that are on top of that.
You know, at one time, we done some discovery on this building east of the courthouse. Has there been any more discussion on that building?
I don't see why that building would not be, I have not been in that building for a long time. When I think it was Realtor, they did, maybe it's Titles.
Title Town, that's where,
Paul Epting was out.
yeah, Paul, that's where Polly was for a number of years.
What is
There's
that?
just one main petition across it, plus I think one or two small rooms.
What is that? 30 foot wide by 30 by 50?
I bet it's 1,500 square feet.
1,500 square
Roughly.
foot. And they're 1,700 square foot right now with the kitchen.
I'm not too sure we'd not take a serious look at what we have over here next to us.
I'd much rather do that than go blow $1,200,000. I don't think we're gonna be able to push this down.
And it sounds like we may not build anything down there.
And I'm not totally comfortable building $1 million building on somebody's property that's not ours. Even though it is for the fair kids. I'm 100% for, if we need to remodel that for the fair kids, I'd much rather do something there than demolish it, and spend $1.2 million on another building,
The building needs to be dressed up a little bit, it's painted a light brown, light tan. Isn't the most attractive building, or whether we cheated to make it look more attractive.
It's still gonna be cheaper than building a new
We
building.
can put a lot of lipstick on it.
Okay, and this year at the fair, there wasn't any exhibits in there hardly.
I was told because there was water somewhere on the west side.
Well, it would be on the lean-to. I was only in the part at the fair, and I didn't see any water in there, but there wasn't hardly any exhibits. I doubt there's a.
They told me they couldn't put them in there because there was so much moisture in it.
I hadn't heard that, Jesse.
We could look at that pretty easy. Get a bid on remodeling and look at this building
I think
over
we-
here.
I think we need to take a look. at
You could
this.
remodel that building down there and remodel this building right here and have two perfect areas and spend a quarter of the amount of what this is looking at.
Spend less than that, though.
And the extension office is right across the street from the courthouse,
And that is an annex.
and that could be an app.
I think it's something we need to do some discovery on.
I do too.
You just take the architect fees. $65,000 go a long ways for this building right here.
Last time I was in there, it probably remodeled to the extent you need to.
Even if you gotta cut the inside and start over, I mean. That's my 2 cents worth, that's our round table, I'm done.
There's
I'll
probably,
add half.
there's probably only one bathroom in there, but for that, whether that would meet the codes of things I don't know, but I'm sure, I bet there's only one bathroom in there.
Well, I know Darrell had looked at it, he said the layout wouldn't work or something, I don't remember exactly what the verbiage was, but I apologize, I just read this, but, you know, they got a budgetary number of 935, which is like an estimate. Right when Darrell first came in, he was talking half
650.
that,
Yeah.
but, you know, that didn't get the building down, that didn't get,
Right.
exteriors, this, and that. and the
Well,
other.
and I think maybe Darrell was looking at the building across the street as a temporary site versus a permanent site.
I think it was, yeah.
So if a person looks at it as a temporary site, you go in and remodel it, you purchase it, you go in and remodel it. Can you make it work?
Well, the other thing is, can another office be
Usually,
relocated there as opposed to the A?
well, yeah, you could put the economic development over there, whatever. It doesn't have to be them, it could be the economic development. Move them over there. But they have to be in the courthouse to do, I mean, it's just right across the street, but. I mean,
Of course, he's gonna be taking on planning and zoning anyway.
Food for thought versus spending another.
We're kind of going backwards on
700.
Darrell a little bit.
Well, I understand that, but sometimes you gotta blow the horse up.
We didn't have all these figures when we were discussing this before either.
Well, we had some lump sum estimates and I think we agreed to be more than that, but yeah.
These figures get your attention pretty good.
Yes, they do.
Well, not only you're trying to do this, you're trying to do the judicial system too. Justice Center, the Justice Center, not the judicial. God, we take for days to do that. With
One thing across the street is we actually own the park beside it. We could actually extend that off-street parking clear up from there. If, like you said, one of those storage units put back behind somewhere. We own the property next to it, so it might be, you know.
I think we need to think outside the box just a little bit on this. A little bit.
Okay. All right. We hear that now. Bob, you got anything?
I just climb out of the box. Nope.
No?
The only thing I got, and Bob is probably the only one that know it, may already know. A commissioner for Woodson County for 8 years, Galen Yoho, got a message yesterday morning that he passed away from COVID. And he was commissioner for 8 years, and his dad, I think, was commissioner prior to him. And Bob could probably tell me, probably either 12 or 16 years. Family's had a huge impact on Woodson County. But unfortunately, Galen's probably 63 or 4. Not sure what year he graduated from Leroy, because he's a Leroy kid, but even though he grew up in North Star. But I haven't heard anything on the services. I'll go to it whenever I hear. But unfortunately, Galen got COVID, didn't make it.
Sorry to hear that. The only thing I have would be in my, we had said last week, maybe we'd make a decision on HR. You know, this week. You know, go to executive session, discuss a little bit, but I think I would.
Wasn't Wade was still working some stuff out, was he not?
Yes,
I think we need to wait.
With one of them?
had to finalize a little bit of tweaking on that contract.
Yeah.
Will Wade be available
He said if we need him, call him. I think he's
This plane come in at 10, he ain't here yet.
No, maybe he is, but if he was tweaking it, I wanna see.
9:30.
I wanna see the written of the tweak.
I think he was wanting to get a decision made this week, but because of him not being here,
Okay.
may not have the documents finalized.
I guess somebody could call him and see if he got anywhere on that, if we need to make a decision today on it. And if he doesn't and didn't, then we don't.
Tell him, would you please, not can you, would you please?
Was Skipper gonna get back with us on the meeting with the bond attorney?
He's planning on setting him up to be here next Monday.
Next Monday, all right.
Correct.
I misunderstood it. then.
Yeah, we'll
All right.
get aggressive on it Monday and hopefully have it laid out.
All right.
And then we'll have next Wednesday, will we not? No.
No,
that'd be.
because we're doing Monday, right?
That should be on Monday, yeah.
Oh, we'll do it.
Check it out.
Check the vouchers on the 28th.
All right, so that's what I was thinking.
Check the 28th.
On when?
You'll be here by yourself.
Oh, I'm still in
On the
July.
30th.
30th.
I'm still in July, sorry.
We do have the Wood Creek drill Wednesday.
There, we got a wolf.
30th, yes.
And that is,
Show up 8 or shortly after.
8:00.
Oh, we'll be late. We'll be here by 9:30.
That's fine, because we would not all be there
At the
at the same time anyway.
Wednesday at 8, correct?
We may not
And
get a
it may
call,
be 9 o'clock before it
may
even
not get a
starts.
call at 8:30 or 9 o'clock.
We plan on being here by 9:30.
We'll just have to leave.
And Carl and Amber said that works, so.
Yeah.
In an actual event, you can't ever tell, may not be over 2 or 3 even available.
You might not.
May not be any of us, which is fine, that'll work without us.
You might be in the call out zone.
Who takes over for our event?
Sure.
Sure, I was gonna ask the sheriff.
Sure.
So Wade said if you want to go to an executive session with him available by phone, that's good with him. So if you want to make a decision, that will affect the direction of the documentation goes. So he's available by phone.
So he's kind of saying maybe we need to.
If you want to do it, he is available by phone.
He said last week, he thought we owed it to make a decision.
Well, I do too, but we wasn't planning on him being gone either.
But she just said the decision we make alters the documentation, correct? Or-
Well, that will affect the direction of the documentation goes.
Okay. So it sounds like we need to go into executive session
Let him know what we're
with
thinking.
Wade on
Sure.
the phone.
I told him if you'd be giving him a call back, Charlie, either I or one of you would give him a call. They're going to be headed to the executive session.
Everybody in favor of getting this?
I think we need to be proceeding
We
on
need
this.
to.
Alright, so I'll make a motion that we move into.
He said just make sure you use the same verbiage for
That's
the
what I-
reason.
Have Angie look up the verbiage from
So it would be moved to enter into executive session to include each of the commissioners and county councilor, Wade Bowie, second by phone, for consultation with the county councilor to discuss current county policy and potential county exposure related to the draft HR audit. Let's see, and review specifically in reference to the proposals presented regarding matters to privilege in the attorney-client relationship under the Kansas Open Meetings Act, exception KSA 7543-19B2.
I'll second.
For how long?
I think first, probably better throw 20 minutes on there.
With all the discussion that's already taken place, I think 20 is probably finished.
In case we can't get a hold of him right away, that gives you a little bit of time.
So what she said, Jesse's moving,
I'll second.
10 seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll go in at
Andrea calls.
11:13.
Well,
No, we didn't call
we
him.
can call him from up there.
You're going to call him?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Tom can, or I
You
can.
might want to do that 11:15.
11:15.
I don't want to.
20 minutes. No, you're fine.
Takes forever. Time lag.
I'll come on the way.
I should have said.
It's downstairs in the basement, you want me to show it to you? It's pretty, it's not going to be. I think this one is supposed to do the same on as. I don't think know, you got the meeting, they really put the meeting. But this, yeah, I think probably if you get it open the door, there's some things. Yeah, but it's, yeah, once it's well, we should have a lot of them. I mean, I was gonna say one thing, but people don't have it, but people probably. But that's if not, don't work on the thing, that's the wrong thing. You are training for emergency. So, welcome to emergency life.
Angie, I missed holiday. Did you have the original for him to sign?
They already did,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you see if Mr. Johnson's available? Sure. We are back.
Where there's,
You gotta test it, make sure it's good.
He's in court out of town.
I know, I'm sure I want to see you.
We're back. So need a motion to accept proposal by HR Partners out of Peak, Kansas. Provide services to mitigate HR findings by Draft Associates, contract fee, accepted at, or wrote up at a later date.
I'll move.
all second.
Jesse's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, motion passes 5-0. I need a motion to go into executive session for another 20 minutes with county attorney. Commission, Mr. Johnson is unavailable. For legal advice. And he kind of said you'd know how to, what the numbers would be for that, Angie.
Okay, yes. Hold on one moment, give me 1 second.
I was wanting to include Mr. Johnson, but he's not available, so.
Or first available.
Who, Eric? Eric, is that who you're asking?
Yeah,
I think I can try him.
Eric's been involved in their brothers.
yeah, we can do that. We can do that. Let's see if Eric's available first.
Is that legal advice regarding county policy or for county litigation? I'm looking for something else. Personnel matters.
Land purchase.
Land acquisition.
Yeah, land acquisition.
Land acquisition.
Okay. That will help me.
I don't think Andrew's having much fun in Eric either, are you?
Try one more, 1 second.
Since Bobby presented this, on this.
Yeah, we can include Bobby, as far as I'm concerned.
He weighed pretty well.
He's in tune to everything that's happening, yes. If you guys are okay with that.
I heard there was issues with the Johnson.
I'm curious, I don't know. He presented it.
I'm asking if he's available.
You are?
Bobby.
You are?
Mhm.
Okay. I'll quit.
You know, we had the chairman out on some commission meeting one time.
Oh, really?
He was around by that disconnect.
I've got that ready whenever.
Okay. Yeah, she's in. Eric's available.
Okay, thanks, come back. Eric will be headed right down.
I've got any response from him yet?
He was in his office.
Yeah.
Sure.
I am, wait.
Do you have anything from Roundtable while we're waiting?
Just a couple of little things. Shellers, the lawn care service, they'll be here today. They were waiting on the part to come fix the sprinkler system.
Okay.
And the tree trimming company, Wellness, they will be here Thursday. As long as weather permitting and nothing else goes wrong, they will be here Thursday for the trees.
Okay.
and looking into a half door for the treasurer's office. So I've started with CL and Doors. I'm waiting for a call back from them, but I'll try to get a hold of them this morning again.
Okay.
And start there. And the possibility of half door where right now it's just kind of like a little partition on wheels so that you can't get back behind their desk.
Not the main door.
No, just so that you don't have to keep moving that little partition every time they walk in and out. And then, sounds like there's been a request for a couple of trees in the parking lot where that median is, to plant a couple more trees, since I don't know if people are trying to get the few shaded spots that there are with the trees, so I didn't know if that was a possibility, to plant a couple more trees out there.
Problem with trees in parking lot and concrete, you got root coming up through there.
I always thought we need to make those islands, fill them with rock and put a little bush in them or something, or concrete across, because if you park underneath the tree, next thing you know, you got it all over your vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And like Jesse said, the roots then go start less normal.
I agree with the root problem. It will, in years' time, it will branch out and start keeping concrete on it, so.
Okay, all right.
I mean, if it's if it turns into a maintenance type thing, then yeah, we can look at landscaping it like Bob suggested.
I think that's it for me.
We still have the fourth judicial system set up here at Martin.
Yep, we're gonna have that set up this afternoon,
Okay.
have it ready for you tomorrow.
It won't last very long, probably 12 to 1:15.
Okay.
It won't last long.
And then I will check on yours for you, Jesse, on the fiber board meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's it for me.
That's the only meetings they've been having, well, they just finally started having the Lake Region meetings back in person, like last month, I believe.
Well, we had the,
And I was gone, so.
yeah, we had fiber board meetings, but it's just been kind of quiet here lately. Normally they send me an email, but
Right,
who knows how that technology is working.
right.
And I still haven't gotten anything back from Mr. Skipper. Was Eric coming here or is he gonna meet
Yeah,
us?
he said he'd be right down here. I told him we were still down here in the meeting room.
I'll step out.
Okay.
Okay, well, you guys are there, we'll just do the vote and just stay there. We'll, call it and put that up. Okay, no problem. Eric and Bobby, you're up there now.
Okay. So, need a motion
Yeah.
to go into executive session.
To include each of the commissioners and county councilor Wade Bowie, the second by phone, under Sheriff Eric Smith and Economic Development Director Bobby Skipper, to discuss land acquisition regarding matters being privileged in the attorney-client relationship under the Kansas Open Meetings Act, section KSA 75-4319B2.
For 15 minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Ken's moved,
No second.
Jesse seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We're at 11:50. 15 minutes.
When was the last? How often do they usually meet, do you know? So you're not saying anything for August or September? Okay. All right, and then usually would be on your calendar. Okay. Okay. Okay, then I'll do that. All right, thanks. Bye.
I was hoping.
So we are back. Need a motion to go back in executive session for another 15 minutes for same personnel, same reasons.
So move.
Don's moved,
All second.
Tim seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're gonna at 12:08, 15 minutes.
I don't think that math added up for me. I have been coming out at 12:10.
Oh, the time you had for now is 12:10? I have 12:06 when they came back in here. And they're gonna,
But they
Should
went,
have been 12:05 if they came back.
okay.
That was 15 minutes.
I thought they went in for 20 minutes, not 15.
No, they called 15 the
Uh,
last time.
Well, they said 20.
They said 20 at first and then they said 15 is what I have. I can go back and listen to
Wish
it.
they'd get on the same page.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have
For
15.
the 1208 that go in, yeah. And Tim seconded that, right?
Yes. And you said same personnel, same reasons?
Yep.
doing now.
Still?
15-minute executive session back at 12:23.
I thought you were gonna wrap that one up. I've been busy.
Oh, no. And enough things to know.
It was done. And Wade wasn't here for executive sessions.
He's with them now by phone.
So,
I think this is probably the last subject, hopefully the last executive session, so we'll see what happens.
turn it on upstairs.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, we are back. Carl, I see you. Do you have something you want to share with us?
Yes. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, sorry about that. This morning I was able, last week I found out that the Wolf Creek wasn't going to have a controller for the exercise on Wednesday, and today I was able to have a conversation with Matt Deckett to talk that over and confirm that information. And I was going to go ahead and wanted to let you guys know that we're not going to exercise on Wednesday because we don't have anybody to control the scenario in our EOC. The controller is the person who drives the scenario, provides injects, and answers our questions during that exercise. It provides a quality learning experience to us. And since we don't have that piece to the puzzle, I don't want to have an exercise where we can't have a quality learning experience and reinforce our knowledge in what we do during an exercise. So I just want to bring that to you and see if you had any questions and let you know.
It's being postponed.
This is a one-time drill, so it's this will be the one we do for the, we won't be doing it on this year that I know of yet.
Okay.
So there's a possibility yet that we would still assist them later when, in case the NRC, Nuclear Regulatory Commission, wants them to have us participate with something as far as helping them with their licensing process with NRC. But I was wanting to make sure, we talked it over in the office, and we was wanting to make sure that we have a quality experience when we do this.
Thank you.
Waste of time, people's time. I mean,
Right.
if it's not going to be what it needs to be.
What they had is they had somebody that left, and so they're short some people, and so therefore, this is what happens when it wants to have quality experience.
I'll be sure to tell Brad.
So, yes, I will.
Judge Beck, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay, Andrew, you got something else to share with us?
Kind of related to the EOC, their air conditioner went out and the unit is bad. So Modern Air is gonna work on a quote to one to replace it and one that can fix it. But they said that it's really old. They don't even know if they have the parts to fix it. It only controls the EOC offices in that area, so there's still air in the EOC room itself. But so for now, their offices will have doors open and fans running. But, so it is that smaller unit that's out back, out that side there, so it is just.
I don't think you have time to mess with a quote, do you?
It would just be an emergency situation.
I don't think you have time to mess with
And
a quote.
I don't, if it's that old, they're not even sure they can get parts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna nickel and dime you to death, just
I say,
replace
I
it.
just hope you can get a new one.
That'd be the other thing.
Is it gonna be a high enough value where we need to put it out for bids?
Well, again, it's an emergency situation.
Not an
emergency
situation.
And as far as fiber board meetings, the last one that showed on the schedule was June 29th, and there's not one on the schedule for August or September.
thanks.
And no, that's it.
So you'll get back with us on whether the parts are new,
Yes.
or I'm just gonna say new.
I don't think you have time to mess with it. I mean, granted, it's not gonna be that hot, but it is chances of getting up into the 90s, or low 90s.
Midnight.
If you can get the parts and fix it, that's maintenance.
Well, true, but if they're not, if it's old enough, they can't get them.
Right. If parts cost half the price of a new one, you can't mess with it either.
Okay, so we're gonna direct her, have them just look at parts first then.
And so this is the unit that they're talking about right outside.
Okay.
If, I wouldn't hold it up.
Okay.
I wouldn't hold
One way or
it up.
another.
Yeah, if they can't get parts, just go new.
Okay.
You're still looking at, I mean, you're probably looking at 4 days for parts. If they got a new unit sitting there, they could stab it in a day or two. I mean, I don't know.
Is it?
Yep, that's it for me.
Anybody else, anything else they want to share? We will adjourn at 12:29.
Jesse, you're good.
And I'll get in there tomorrow.
Well, that'll let you off the hook tomorrow, Tim.
Yeah,
Wednesday, yeah, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, you can stay home and pay.
That Might be tempting. I've got it scheduled. What are you doing Wednesday?
Working in the office.
Have a good week.
I'm gonna pop in here.
See you Monday. Andrea, see you later.
Bye-bye, thanks, have a good night.
Going to lunch, I have to take care of this now, but I need to get this stuff remedied. Get them guys changed next week.
Me too. Yeah, get back to work.
Turn off. Right.
Oh, and I do need, I set these out for you to sign, and then I forgot about